All right, so this one goes out to all the Americans. There's been some people talking about Klejner. No, well, I talked about Klejner for like 2 years. I've talked about it on Algo's show. I talked about it on my own show, and I've talked to a numerous of people online that don't know what Klejner is. And when I try to explain it to it, they think it's donuts. It is not. It is a special kind of Christmas Danish delicious version that we cook like donuts, but it's better. And I want to show you today. It got a lot of grease in it, as you can see, just like donuts, but they don't have the amount of sugar that you put in your donuts. And I promise you, if you make these, you will like these just as much as a donut, if not better. So I want to show you what I use today. The first thing you do is you make yourself a cup of coffee or eggnog or whatever gets you in the Christmas spirit, and put your favorite Christmas tune on the radio, and you do that shit. You know, I don't do that because I have to explain this shit to you guys. So make yourself a good cup of coffee, whatever gets you in the mood. Relax with this. It's a process, you know, but actually it doesn't take that many ingredients. This is all it takes to make Klejner. I use butter because it tastes better. That is the only reason. You can use margarine if you want that. I don't want that in my life, so I cut that out. Everything I do is with butter, and I also think it tastes better. And it's Christmas, for crying out loud. So butter is preferred. I use cream for the creaminess in there. I want this. It also gives a little texture to the Klejner. You want that. I use sugar, cane sugar only, because I don't like the too processed sugar. This is still processed, but not in the same amount as real processed sugar. Eggs, of course, and the flour. You can use wheat, it's just fine. I just like wheat flour with a little more bite in it, so I use durum. If you don't know what that is, this is what the Italian bakers make pizza dough of. You know, it's just, it makes a little more elastic dough. It doesn't change the taste at all, but it makes it easier to work with when you're making Klejner, and later I'll show you why that is a good thing. There's one thing missing I haven't put down here, is limes. Yeah. Normally I use oranges, but since I have to use the peel, I want oranges. I know that's not spraying with all kinds of shit, and I couldn't find those. There were no oranges that was, well, you know, what do you call it? Ecological or whatever the name is these days. So, and lemon just, it's not oranges. So I chose this instead. That was the best thing I could find. Basically, I'm only using the peel on these. Do not put the juice in the dough. I made that mistake and it fucks up the dough. They cannot handle the acid. So if you do put anything in there, do not use the temptation to put your orange juice, your lemon juice, or your lime juice in the dough. It fucks up the whole process. So that out of the way. For that, this is why I use this. Instead of, because once upon a time I put in the juice and it fucked up the dough. It was because I wanted a little sour bite in my Klejner, and you can do this with this instead. This is what do you call it? Is it curdled milk? I think you call this curdled milk. I have to check that out. If I don't correct myself when I get to the computer, it's called curdled milk. You can use buttermilk as well. I just like this because it has a little more fat in it and gives a better texture. And this actually gives the sourness to the Klejner that you want from the lemon. So you replace that with this instead and you don't fuck up the dough. So we do that later and I give you the recipe in the end. And this is what we cook it in. I don't know if you used to cook in this. This is called palmin in Denmark. It's palm fat. It's fat from palm trees and coconuts and shit. So the reason we use this is because it has no odor. It has no taste to the Klejner. So we get the pure taste of all these great products. Could you use some kind of oil? Maybe. But once you tried it with something like this, you never go back. So it's expensive. I don't know if it's just as expensive in your country, but I pay around, what is that, $6 for a block like this. So I'm actually paying $12 just to cook my Klejner. But with this, you have to have at least 2 pounds in order to make a pot boil and be able to put things in. But once you have that, you can make 100 at least, if not 150 Klejner on this this bunch here. So that is the ingredients. All we need is right here, and besides that, all we need is a pot, a reasonable sized pot. But we do the cooking process after. First I want to make the dough, because the dough is actually pretty easy. But first we need to make the ingredients into things we can elaborate. And the first thing you do when you start, now I put this out for visibles, you know, to show you, but I don't want this out yet actually. I put this back in the fridge. Because I want that to be hard until the last point. This, on the other hand, when you decide to make Klejner, 30 minutes before you're ready to cook or make your dough, you take this out. You want this soft. You want to be able to make those marks in it, you know. Soft is better, you know, because when you make Klejner, it's all about the texture of the dough is premium. If you get the wrong texture, you fuck up the Klejner. If you get the right texture, you can't fuck up the Klejner. So that is it right there. And that's why you don't use this, because it will break down the fibers and the glutens in the dough and you fuck up the Klejner. So first we take our butter and we do like this, and we do the same with the cream. Sugar. Bad boy eggs. And the flour. And our curdled milk. These I'm not gonna do the little knipsy thing at, because I need to peel, and once I knip my fingers, you know, it's the peel's gonna fall off and you have beautiful little pieces, and we don't want that. We only need the peel. So that is it. That is the ingredients. Now let's get ready to cook. Okay, as you can see, I fucked up step number 3, which is filming me making the dough. Somehow I turned the shit into a time lapse. So instead of gonna do this narration, and I'm gonna pause this because this is way too fast, and I'm gonna try and explain what I was doing, because I already explained all that on a time lapse and you can't hear shit. So okay, let's take it from the end. So first I put in the eggs and the butter, and I'm gonna pause this for a second. It doesn't have to be processed that much, so I don't use the whisker. I don't want it to be like eggnog. I don't want it to be like when you're making cakes and stuff like that. I just want it to be roughly mixed together, so we have even parts all over, but it doesn't have to look like this even though, so rough texture where you can still see small pieces of butter in. That's all we want. A minute or two should be fine. Next up, I add the sugar and basically just give it a whisk. 30 seconds is enough. I just want the sugar blended in there. And this is how it should look like. As I said, not even, just some chunks of butter whisked in with the eggs. So, yeah. And then I add the lime peel. I only use the green stuff. I don't want the white stuff in between the fruit and the peel. It can make it bitter, especially if you choose to use oranges. You don't want that. So only the green stuff, yellow stuff, or orange stuff. Next up, I add the cream and the milk, the curd milk, and it is called curd milk. I checked it out. And that's a quick whisk as well before I add the flour. When you add the flour, you want to sieve it if it's wheat, if it's normal wheat flour. But if you're using durum, as I am here, if it's pretty fresh, then you shouldn't have a problem. You don't need to sieve it. But I'm showing you here that if you want to be on the safe side, sieve it. So yeah. The easiest way to see when it's done is when it collects in the middle and kind of let loose of what's on the edges, so you can see a division between what's in on the hook and what's on the side of the ball. That's a clear sign of it's being done. So this is how it should look like when it's done. So when it's hard to get out of the bowl, but doesn't really stick to the bowl, it's kind of right. You got the right texture. It should not let go of the ball. You can turn it upside down and it doesn't let go, but you can still get it out without sticking to the bowl. So yeah, pretty weird, like a sticky pie dough is the best way to describe it. Next up is the 3x3 fold, and by that I mean I roll out the dough and I flip it on top of itself, so it has 3 layers, and then I flip it 90 degrees and roll it again, and I do that 3 times. 3 layers, 3 times, and we do that to get the right texture of the dough, because we cannot use this dough as it is right now. We need to have a better dough to work with, and by flipping it on top of itself, we toughen the dough and it becomes a lot easier to work with, and you'll see later why. And then I just pack it in some baking paper and put it on a platter, and I put it in the freezer. You can use the fridge, but it will have to be in there for 60-90 minutes, but you can without problems put it in the freezer for 30 and it'll be ready. All we want is a better texture, so cool down the dough. So here we got the result. This is what you want: a dough that breaks but is still, sticky like that. Now it's perfect. Gonna put some more flour on here. Almost there. that's the right one. A little more over here. And this is a good sign when the edges are kind of spreading apart. So if you are not sure about your dough is right, I am though right now, you just let it sit here for like a couple of minutes, and if this just stays the same, the dough is right. If it starts to pull together, well, you need to, then you hadn't had it in your freezer for long enough. It might have to go back. But this is fine. Yeah. So this is the thickness you want. Like a 1/5 of an inch. Not too thick and not too thin. Yeah, there you go. This is perfect. Can you see that? So in Denmark we have these special rollers that makes Klejner when you roll it over. I don't use those. I just use a sharp knife. But it has to be sharp though. We want clean edges. So first I'm gonna cut it like this. See, if it's not sharp, it's gonna stick to the knife. The dough is really soft. Even though it's rigid right now. Now it's more like pie dough. And I take this shit off right here. Well, that's my Klejner. Well, not yet. Anyway. So, now you have to decide how big of a Klejner you want. You know, the angle makes them bigger. The more I cut them 90 degrees, the smaller Klejner I will get. The more angle I do, the bigger Klejner I get. So I like the 45 kind of way. "45 degrees are just the perfect size for me. So that's what I'm gonna cut. And I'll take these corners off as well. So now I'm left with these diamonds. You can see these diamond shaped things right here. Like a 1/5 of an inch. This is perfect. So next process is pretty crucial. You have to do this right. It has to be exactly in the middle and not too big. I just make a hole like that. See, that's all I need. Now I'm gonna take one end and I'm gonna put it through right this, and I'm gonna twist it. Like that. I want it to be evenly big all over. So a little trick is to not just pull it through. So when you do this, you can be tempted to just pull this end. Don't. Flip it all the way over and twist the sides under it, underneath itself, like that. This is Klejner. So I do this to all of them. And take your time with this process, because it's very, very important that all this is the same size. If I make this too long or too thin or something like that, it won't be cooked even. So I want, you see, there's room under there. It's not folded together. So that makes it evenly cooked everywhere. It gets oil in everywhere, or the fat. So it gets cooked very nicely. So I just repeat this process. But the cue is to be patient and not make the hole too big. And then fold in the sides. And there you go. You just need a little practice with it. But remember, don't pull this. Fold in the sides so you don't get that stickiness. I fucked this up a little, but it's okay. See? I pull it through and then I push in the sides. And I get this thing called the Klejner. I fucked that one up. Takes a little practice. And finding the right size of the holes as well is important. There you go. Yeah, these end pieces can be tough sometimes. I just wanted to show you here, but you can roll out a bigger dough and make many more at the same time. So that's basically it. Do the dough right so it has the right consistency, and make, this is how it should look like. This is a beautiful Klejner. Look at this. Yeah, beautiful size and everything. This is good. So next up, I'll show you how to cook them. Just use your thumb to help it through. So when you got this, folding in the sides, and then I push it around like that. It makes the perfect twist. And when you get the hang of it, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard. That one is not good. You feel it right away. If you mess it up, just throw it away, roll it out once more. Have to speed up this process, you know. Don't put out any more dough than you can handle. Otherwise, once it gets too warmed up, it's pretty hard to do anything about. You can't really cool it back down, so don't pull any more dough out of the fridge than you can handle. And that's it. We got Klejner. Everything is designed for the folding process. If the texture is not right, if the temperature is not right, then you won't be able to fold it like this. And just like that, I made Klejner. There we go. And now on to the cooking process. So, straight from the fridge and into the pot. Palmine. Could somebody please tell me what you call this in the US? It's basically cocoa fat. You probably have a different name for it. We call it palmine, like palmine. And in the pot, straight from the fridge, low heat, and just let it melt away and get real hot. I start just melting it on low heat. Once it's all melted, then I turn up the heat. Not exactly the same heat as when you're frying stuff in the US, but it needs to be hot enough so when you put a toothpick in it or something like that, it bubbles around it. So I probably don't have to teach you American anything about cooking in oils. You're probably way better at that than we are. Peace. So now we're about ready, I think. It's almost there. Yeah, almost. Normally you can see it when the oil starts to spin a little faster. There's these little swirls in oils. When you see them get real fast, then you're probably there. But I'll just use a piece of dough to see that. Yeah, that's what you want, that right there. So I'm ready, and while I waited, I do what I take and I find the small ones and I do those first, and I just dump them right down there, let them go. Don't mind them sinking to the bottom, they will come back up. And I start out with all the small ones. That's about how many I want to put in. You know, you don't want to put too many in because they will steal all the heat and will not get even. And you just let that shit. That's too hot. Can you see this? Turns dark too fast. So the oil is too hot right now. I just turned it down a little. But look how fluffy and nice they get. And there's no fucking baking powder in there. Those are almost already done. That's all it takes. For the small one, like 30 seconds, 40 seconds. That's it. They're done. I'm not a big donut expert, but this is the color you want. And then you pick them out, if you can. This is not the right thing for it. And all I gonna do is I'll just spread out a piece of cloth right here. The reason why I always take the small one first is because that's where you always fuck up. And it doesn't matter when you take the small ones. The oil is still a little too hot. I'm gonna turn it down a notch more. And then I'm gonna take some more of the small ones. You just want them fairly the same size. 5, 6 at a time if they're normal sized. Just in there for like 40, 50 seconds. I just flip them over golden, get them nice and even if I can. It's been a while since I've been doing this. There we go. Look, now they got an even color. And that's it right there. They're done. That's all it takes, guys. I'm making Klejner. That's all it is. These are perfect. This is how it should look. Perfect Klejner. And you have no idea how good this tastes. Well, you probably do, but if you haven't tried fried bread like this, I promise you. Yeah, I got quiet real quick. So this is my favorite Christmas tradition. Klejner is famous in the Northern Europe. The fat really don't cling to them. You can see it here. So I'm basically just using a piece of cloth so it can just drip off. But not much fat is clinging to them. If you used oil, they would be soaking wet. But the fat really just, I don't know what happens. Something is in the dough that makes it just right. Maybe you expert out there knows. See, these were the first one. You can see they're darker. I'm gonna put them aside. And this is Klejner. There you go. These are not so sweet because I deliberately didn't put much sugar in them. The recipe I give you is enough sugar, but I put less in. I put about half of the recipe, but it works fine anyway. And if you think they're not sweet enough, when you're done, pour some powdered sugar on it. That's okay. That doesn't ruin the Danish tradition. But if you really want to ruin the Danish tradition, whip out some jam and just use them as spoons. So, no magic in making Klejner. Just a good dough with the right consistence. I don't know how. The right texture and the right heat and even size Klejner, and you shouldn't fuck up too bad. I'm inclined to do so. This is the right heat right there. I'm a little over middle. So that makes them perfect golden like this. And you can see they're still spongy. This is good stuff. And you can experiment on how you want them. I like this size right here. This is great, great curl. This is a perfect Klejner, if you ask me. This size, this thickness, and this color. That's how it should look. But see what you do, see with the hole, you can see the stream coming through the hole and makes a stream all over the Klejner. That's why I turn them all the time, because I want it to go both ways. When I flip it over, it goes the other way, you see? And that's what you want. That's right there. The stream all over the Klejner. Makes it burn evenly all over. There's no middle in this. That's the whole point. Just like a donut. Yeah. So there you go. Fried bread the Danish way. That's what you get. That's how we fry our bread, Americans. Yeah. I'll see you all on the flip side. Peace. So there you have it. The bear making Klejner for the whole family. Not only our family, but the entire family. And everybody gets a little gift basket like this. And 5 Klejner in a box with a little heart on it. First one done. So I specialize in this, and that's the beauty of it. Turn this over just a second, guys. So instead of everybody baking everything every year, you just specialize in one special cookie or cake, and you share it with the family. We all get together. I get boxes for them, they get boxes from me, and everybody's happy. So, Merry Christmas, everybody. This is one of the traditions from Denmark. Peace.